I'm going to be quick. I know we've had a nice, great, productive call today, so I want to make this as succinct as possible. First, for those of you who haven't met me yet, I want to share a quick story with you. And if you listen to what I'm about to say, I want you to take me, the character, out of it and put yourself in this place, because what I experienced 16, 17 years ago, many of you have already experienced. And if you haven't, you're going to experience this. Here's the thing. 17 years ago, my wife was promoting the company that we were in. And I don't say this to impress you, but to impress upon you that we weren't always on the corporate side of things. My wife and I built a hugely successful network marketing distributorship in our last company. Jennings knows us from there. And we did this with part-time effort. We earned multiple six-figure income with part-time effort. And I say that because 17 years ago, my wife met Michael Weniger, dressed probably as bright as he is today. And my wife came home and said, hey, I met the CEO of a local company. He wants to meet you, wants to meet us, wants us to come check him out at the company and this and that. And I'm going to be honest with you. Before I even got in the car, and this was a couple of days later that I was meeting him, I already had in my mind, because I did have a bigger head back then. It's funny how physiologically my head has gotten smaller. I had a big head then. I said, here we go again. Because we had companies fly us out and invite us out and wanted us to be the, distributor of this company or that company or whatever. Well, anyway, make a long story short, we pulled up in our car that had a license plate on it that said M34 free. The reason is I had the free car from our last company. And if any of you have ever gotten a free car from a company, go ahead and put your hand up. You know it's not a free car. It's still your name on the lease or your name on the payments. And you're still going to have to make the payments no matter what. Well, I pulled up in our $80,000 ridiculous car that we would have never bought on our own. Seriously, you're driving 55 miles an hour on the freeway and you would see the gas gauge going down. That's how ridiculous this car was. How I've gone full circle, or 180. I've gone from that car to driving a Tesla. Crazy. That being said, I go in with a big head. Essante was so much smaller than it is now. But Michael went over the compensation plan. I'm going to share a little bit about it with you just in a bit. But what he told me, he prophesized. Here's where I want you to get this. He prophesized some things that were going to happen to my wife and I didn't want to hear it. Now, I want to tell you something. That was 17 years ago. And Angie and I have been working with Michael for over 14 years now. And I'm man enough to admit that everything he prophesized that was going to happen to us happened to us. As bad as it seemed. And I want you to know, my wife and I aren't, some unique unicorns. I've seen him do this for the last 14 years over and over and over again. And here's what I want you to gather. I've seen great people in our company, leaders that got offered under the table deals. And Michael's never done that, never paid anybody to come into the company to go to another deal. And they leave. And even worse, I know psychology, to protect their psychology, they would start bashing our company, why they left, when they knew what they were doing and they were raping and pillaging. Well, guess what? I'd say 90% of those people come back. They come back because the grass isn't greener on the other side. It's not organic on the other side. It's synthetic turf on the other side. Many of them get sick and they come back wanting to get well, and many of them wish they'd never left because they would have built a massive business here. Now, that being said, Mr. Weniger told me that they were going to change the compensation plan in my last company. I said, no, they're not. You don't understand. I'm good friends with the owner. He was a self-made billionaire, by the way. He's flown us out to his penthouse. He lives in the same penthouse apartment as Oprah Winfrey. True story. They didn't change the comp plan after Michael said that once, twice, 3 times, 4, 5 times. Go ahead and say if you can relate to that, if you've ever had that happen. Have you had the rug pulled out from under you? They did that to us. And every time they said they were enhancing the comp plan, everybody's check went down. They changed the car plan. So guess who was getting stuck paying that $1,860 a month car payment so their credit didn't get messed up? This guy. True story. And there was many other things that he prophesied, but I want to leave you with this before I go over the comp plan, because this is very important with what I'm about to share with you. Michael was talking about the comp plan back then at Essante Organics, which hasn't changed, by the way, which is very unheard of in this industry. And he talked about the binary, or what we call the endless team bonus in Essante Organics, and how they paid unlimited levels. And I was all proud of myself. I said, yeah, my company does that too. And he says, what about the power leg? I said, what about it? I said, my company's great. They're not like these junky companies that if you don't get your weak leg caught up to your strong leg in 30, 60, 90 days, they flush that volume. My company does 13 months. They don't flush volume for 13 months. He says, okay, you'll understand when it comes to the 13th month. And I didn't get it. And my wife and I are the type of people that kept our mind on our money and our money on our mind and looked at our business and looked at our back office every day. And one night we went to sleep with $1.3 million in bank volume. And there's some of you leaders that have been with our company a very long time that have way more than that. But we went to sleep with $1.3 million in bank volume on our right side. And the next morning we woke up and $1 million of it was gone. Did the company do anything illegal? No, it was the 13th month. And every month thereafter was the 13th month. And it started chipping away and chipping away and chipping away. And when Michael first told us this would happen, I said, Mr. Big Head here, I said, you don't understand. My wife and I are the top and rollers in the company. We're going to catch our weak leg up to our strong leg. But we didn't, even though we were building as fast as we can. And we were penalized. And every month thereafter was the 13th month. And it wasn't just taken away from us. You have to understand that. It's taken away from everybody up the line. Now, when you're talking a binary and 10%, which is common in the industry, that's a $100,000 payout. Now, if I had lost $100, $1,000, I wouldn't be saying the story. I'm like, okay, hard lesson learned. When you lose $100,000 overnight, and then month after month, it keeps going down and down, that pays off a mortgage. That was serious coin. And it's still a serious coin all these years later. So to make a long story short, one of Michael's talents is he's persistent and consistent and never, ever gives up. And even though we said no when we first met him 3 years before we actually became on the corporate team, he kept following up. And I want you to know, we're all adults here. We're all leaders here. Be prepared and be open to hearing the truth. And when we speak the truth about ingredients or what happens in this industry, just because somebody offered you a deal or you trust the CEO of another company or they wouldn't do that, listen with an open heart and open mind. Don't let happen to you what happened to me. True story.